All right. What's up, Mortgage Coach community? I am sitting down with Ernie Gary, the founder and CEO of Homebot, someone that I've known for a very long time. I can still remember the first time I met Ernie and I was hearing him talk about Homebot. It was at a Fairway sales rally. And I was just like, this guy gets it. He understands that the lender of the future needs to optimize debt and equity on behalf of homeowners. And HomeBot's become quite the big thing. And Ernie, good to have you here, bro.
Great to be here, Dave. I tell the story all the time. You came up to me afterwards and started chatting me up, and I did not know you. And then you walked away, and then someone came out and said, "Oh, Dave Savage." I went, "Oh my God, that was Dave Savage." I didn't even get his business card. That was a breakthrough moment. So I appreciate you always supporting the little guy, man.
Oh, you weren't the little guy then, and you're not the little guy anymore. So what I thought would be fun is it's a week before the AI Summit. You and I are going to be there together. I think we're going to have dinner together on Monday night. And then this will be the third year of the AI Summit. I've been the two other years. And usually the first year, it was just like, this is what we're going to do. And then last year, it was like, still a lot of what we're going to do and a little bit about what we're doing, but there wasn't a lot of data driven stories around this is what we're doing. This is what's happening. This is what we're seeing. And I know we have some things here at Mortgage Coach and Trust Engine. What, where do you see the puck going? And how are you preparing HomeBot and how are you preparing lenders to win in this AI era that we're in?
There's a couple of things that we've been working on, and one of them has to do with really going back to 2015. It's really the same business model, if you will, or the same impending doom from 2015. And when we started, the whole premise was Zillow is getting all the eyeballs. That's where everybody's going. And they're looking at their home value on Zillow. And they were in as a portal, they were dominant. They're still a dominant portal, right? They get eyeballs. And if there's one thing we've learned over the last 10 years, it's he who has the eyeballs can inflict a lot of pain on everyone
And
else.
game.
That's right. That's right. And so the net of it, Dave, is that I think that the transition from portal based content to chat GPT based content is obviously very profound. I think the industry adage, people don't want a mortgage, they want a home. People don't want a refi, they want a lower payment. That obviously having played out now with ChatGPT and Gemini, people don't want a bunch of websites. They just want the answer to the question. They don't want PDFs that they have to crawl through. They just want the answer. So this intelligence layer has emerged, and we know that over half of our clients now are using GPT or Gemini in some conversational way. So coming back to
Hey,
HomeBot's core. Yeah.
real quick, I want to pause you that when you said half your clients,
Yeah.
you're talking loan officers and lenders. So quick, two data points. What's your thought on what percentage of loan officers and lenders are strategically using AI? And then two, consumers, what percentage of consumers, or how would you answer the question, are using AI? They're like an AI powered home buyer or an AI powered homeowner as it pertains to the mortgage. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. I think that historically, when you look at white paper analysis of our space, is that individual practitioners, be it lenders or real estate agents or insurance agents or all of these individual practitioners, their acumen and their adoption of technology tends to trend demographically with similar folks overall. So they tend to behave more like consumers than they do, let's say, an electrical engineer using a particular piece of technology. There's probably a plus, but I think in general, it's probably a good assumption that the clients that we serve, as well as the practitioners, both have about the same acumen and the same adoption of AI. I think it's a healthy approach to this. I'd like to see the practitioners use it more, but I think that's a base case safe assumption to make.
So you, first of all, I think it's an extremely safe assumption, although I would And maybe I'm just surfing mountaintops because I interview top producers
Yeah.
every week, and they're all using AI pretty prolifically, but I am interviewing not even the top 10%. I'm interviewing the top 5 and the top 1%. What about this? Do you believe that if you're a loan officer, you should just assume that your customer is an AI powered customer, whether they are or are not?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And actually, I've always felt like it's a great way of, it's a great assumption to make when working with our customers, is that our customers know what their clients like and don't like, because they know what they like and don't like. You don't have to do some sophisticated pilot, or a loan officer doesn't have to do a big pilot with all their clients to know what tools are out there in space. They know because they're using the same tools, right? Whether it's Gmail or Chat GPT and that's those sort of things. That's why I like to use Chat GPT as a benchmark from a usability perspective, because I think Claude is more for the advanced practitioners. Or the folks that you're interviewing are probably all using Claude, and that's a very techie thing, and that people love Claude. But from a mainstream consumer perspective, GPT and Gemini, I think, really rule the roost. But it doesn't really matter. I think, to your point, assume that most of your customers are already becoming very good with conversational AI, be it on ChatGPT or with Gemini. And I think that with using that as the benchmark, it should drive, as a professional, a lot of your decisions going forward. And that's where, for us, I think that's the crux of where I think that the industry should be going right now, which is, if the consumer is being leveled up the same way Zillow leveled up that consumer 10, 15 years ago, then I think there's a great opportunity to present a GPT experience that's in a safe place to your customers, to your clients. So if you're a loan officer, this is where Homebot, we're transitioning into, from a SaaS product where it's a portal, if you will, or it's an email that clicks through to a portal and you've got the four corners of that experience, to where now we've rebuilt everything to live inside of a GPT experience, so that that when the client goes in, they can see their home value, they can see the other things, but it's also completely conversational. It's not like we're bolting on a little chat bot on the side. Because we spent last year trying to bolt a chat bot on. And I think, as a consumer, we all know that when you see a chat bot on any SaaS or any portal experience, you don't really know if it's a 2006 chatbot or a 2026 chatbot. It's like the 2006 chat, these things were minimally helpful. Say, sorry, folks, we're not in the office right now, 9 to 5, call us back or try us again and during working hours. So one of the big things that we're leaning into right now is the ability of our lender customers to be, instead of giving their clients this HomeBot experience it's already pre-baked, they give them a GPT, which we're filling in that GPT screen so that those consumers can leverage the skills they've already learned on ChatGPT and Gemini to start asking other questions. So we just wanted to be a safe place. And it's a pretty ballsy move, I think, just because we have an entire GPT experience. But when people start to see it and get it, they go, oh, wow, this is just a different type of portal that leverages all of the chat conversational stuff in the midst of all of the artifacts of visualization to help the homeowner make great decisions.
Yeah. I think one thing we definitely align on is that we need to get the loan officer in the loop. The term human in the loop is used a lot in AI world. And as providers that are helping loan officers, we want to keep the LO in the loop, because right now consumers are using AI, chat, Gemini, Claude, you name it, and the loan officer is not in the loop. So one of the things we did with Mortgage Coach is we did put the bot. And one of the things we've noticed is that if the loan officer isn't prompting the consumer and giving them teaching them how to talk to AI, it's a percentage, maybe 3% of the consumers are interacting. Whereas if the loan officer is prompting them, we're seeing 15%, 20% of consumers interacting. And again, the beauty is the loan officer's in the loop. What are your thoughts on, as an industry, a loan officer needs to become good at talking to AI themselves and need to become great at teaching consumers, home buyers, homeowners, how to talk to AI. That needs to become a skill that is
No doubt.
at a mastery level.
And so I agree with you. And I think one of the things that we're learning our way into is in the sort of this Homebot GPT experiences, we never present the consumer with a blank screen. I think it goes back to your comment about prompting, right? You always start with some context, some way to spider web into different types of subject matter. And I think that, frankly, for the consumer, I feel like that they're learning on their own in the chat GPT world pretty well. But even with all that learning, I still don't want to take it for granted that you just need to really almost use GPT like a content management system and always be prompting. So they never have to type in anything in. It's just like the next button to form that. But I think you bring up a really good point. I was just talking about this earlier this morning about loan officers. And we have an entirely separate effort that actually we call our consumer facing GPT experience, Holly GPT, because we've always used Holly as our persona for Holly homeowner. And customer GPT is the kind of the word that we use internally for lenders talking to Homebot from the customer side. And a couple of the things that we're trying to solve for here is keeping it super simple to begin with. So if you're a loan officer, it's like, okay, I got 5 minutes. Who are the 3 customers I should call right now? Or I got 5 minutes. Who are the 3 partners I should call right now? So when you talk about being in the loop, I always think about how do you spread your humanity? Like, how do you be a human? And how can we maximize the human time and pouring that in all of the right other humans, if you will, all the right clients at all the right time with all the right context. And so it's one thing to say, which 3 should I call? But what we're learning is that if you talk to a lender, I'll give you an example. You talk to a lender about the question, which partners should I call today? Talk to most of these lenders, like I think we'd all agree that expanding the aperture of your real estate partners is a constant part of your job. You're always trying to expand that aperture and the depth of those relationships because you want more referrals back. So I guess what we're learning it to is that now that we've pulled all of this data intelligence into one place, now I ask the lender, I go, okay, who should you call today? And maybe it's the agent that just listed a property today. In other words, there's something that's happened that gives me cause to call the real estate agent if I'm the lender. And then the question is, should I be calling every agent that just, no, you don't want to do that. And then you get into what's the kind of the criteria. And so I guess where I'm going with this is the type of criteria might be, I only want to call agents for which I'm actually already connected to through my database and have just listed a new property or sold a new property. And maybe because I've been in the business a while, I'm never going to call real estate agents that are married. When I say married, I mean, they have loyalty. Actually, I use the word, I should probably change it. I call it the promiscuity index. So if you have a promiscuity index of 1, that means as a real estate agent, you're referring all your business to 1 LO. That means they're married. 2, and not maybe closer to married. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or distribution of deals. That means that they're always open to meeting new loan officers. So my point where I'm trying to get with this is that you can prompt the machine to tell you, hey, who should I call today? Give me something to talk about, someone I'm intersected with, someone who's does the types of deals that I do, someone who I've already got a deal with, but I just want more of their market share, and someone whose market share is worth pursuing. And so the loan officers have always kept so much of this in their head in terms of how they think about not just targeting, but also engaging with real estate agents. And I think that's teaching them how to prompt the machine and then say, oh, you could also say, I only want to talk to agents that do a lot of FHA size deals because I do a ton of FHA deals, right? I'm just saying there's just infinite optionality now to take what loan officers have always done up here and to prompt the machine. And then once they prompted it once, they can just hit the big red easy button every single day, right? Give me more. And maybe as they talk to agents, they learn, oh, wait a minute. I don't want to talk to agents that haven't done a deal in 9 months. Or, you know what I'm saying? There's just all these little weird nuances that they have that they practice that we're going to have to train them, and we're training them to prompt the machine. Because at the end of the day, what they should be doing is saying, hey, I got 12 minutes on my way to breakfast. Who should I call? And what should I say?
Yeah, I like that. I love that you're doing that, Ernie. You're helping the loan officer be more strategic,
Mm,
smarter. And that's another thing that we're very serious about. We've empowered the AI consumer. And then we've also recently rolled out a prompt so that the loan officer, right now, most loan officers don't know how to give advice. They can't just look at, hey, this is the assets, this is the balance sheet, this is the down payment, this is the price. Let me show you the most strategic way to acquire this home. And remember, anyone watching this, if you remember nothing from this conversation, the American dream includes homeownership, but the American dream is financial freedom with homeownership. And most consumers don't know how to, they don't even know how to prompt that or how to figure that out, which is something that we're working on so that the loan officer can just create a prompt. And now they can be like this superhuman elite advisor and know how to present strategies. What are some other, if right now we're going to see a bunch of mortgage executives next week at the AI Summit, I have to think every single person going there is trying to go where the puck is going. It wouldn't be spending the money, going to a HousingWire event, and going to this AI Summit if they weren't trying to go where the puck is going. What are your thoughts where the puck is going? Speak directly to the mortgage executives making decisions. Where's the puck going?
I think that it's one word, intelligence. Time to intelligence, and then from intelligence to action. How do you get intelligence? And so you brought up, how do you get intelligence? How do you prompt the consumer with intelligence? How do you prompt the lender with intelligence? And then how do you get them to do turns on that to now elevate the intelligence to a level that is actionable? And I think that right now we're at this phase right now is time to intelligence, like really focused. Using my previous example, it's like Moneyball, right? It's like people have been chasing the Johnny Damons in terms of lenders and chasing the Johnny Damons with clients. And then the question is, how do you get a referral? How do you actually assemble? How do you go Moneyball with referral partners as opposed to just focusing on a few? And so there's a lot of intelligence involved with that. I think that the consumer is addicted to intelligence now. They don't want websites. They don't want PDFs. They want answers. They don't just want answers, generic answers. They want answers that intersect with their personal situation. And that's intelligence. And I think that positioning the lender to understand the type of intelligence they're going after, positioning the consumer to get to the type of intelligence the more intelligent it is, the smaller the gap is between absorbing that intelligence and acting on that intelligence. Right. And so not to try to be in the clouds on that, but everything we do now is around at Homebot is around trying to create this semantic layer of intelligence, be it for the customers or for the Hollies, the Holly homeowners. It's very exciting, but as you mentioned earlier, prompting for that and grabbing the lowest hanging fruit of the intelligence tree. It's one thing to say, oh, there's an intelligence tree, and it's a whole different thing to prompt to shake that fruit out of it. And I think that's what everybody should be thinking about right now is how do you get the lowest hanging intelligence on either side of that equation to move the needle, whether it's the homeowner making a decision they need to make today or not make a decision, or the lender make a decision or not make a decision today based on really acute intelligence that intersects exactly where they are.
Love that. Love that. And I particularly love that you tied intelligence and action together and adoption. I would push every executive listening to this. It's one thing to have the tech, it's another thing to have your loan officers leveraging it. And I do believe we have a really special opportunity right now. So, Ernie, let's save some of this conversation for maybe a debrief podcast. I'm going to see you next week. For anyone who's at the AI Summit, come up to Ernie and I, say hi. We'd love to have a conversation with you. Every time I go to these events, I do a sunrise walk and talk. 6 a.m. Anybody who wants to come, reach out to me. You know how to find me. Text me, email me. And I've already got 3 people who have reached out saying, hey, Dave, are we going to do the sunrise walk? There'll be a coffee shop that we're meeting at. So reach out to me. Any closing thoughts or things you want to say to folks before we wrap this?
No, I'm actually looking forward to frankly listening more than talking next week because there's going to be a ton of great leaders and lots of ideas out there. So it's a great opportunity to collect best practices across the board.
Yeah, I like that. And thank you, Housing Wire. They do a great job. This is one of those events where almost everybody's in the sessions, like a lot of events. A lot of people are out networking. It's going to be a great opportunity to learn. So, Ernie, until next week, man, I'm looking forward to seeing you. If you got value from this, give it a like, share it with mortgage innovators, and we'll see some of you at HousingWire next week. Take care, everybody.